Chinese movies have always been entertaining. The Creature Fest is truly a genre of movies that I believe remains an underrated and untapped goldmine of entertainment, especially in the Chinese movie industry. If you can get used to subtitles, you might just end up getting decently surprised. And one such creature feature that is worth mentioning has to be Anaconda, which came out in 2024. You might also find this movie under the name 100 Poisons Rampage. It has everything you could ever want: action, amazing creature design, fast pace, and comedy. So join us as we delve into the Chinese Anaconda movie. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Movie recap time. The movie starts off rather ominously. We follow Jeff, played by Terrence Yin, a snake poacher going deep into the forest with two partners on a boat. The boat driver explained to Jeff and his partners in crime that they were actually going to go into this part of the forest, which is said to be cursed. Apparently, it's full of all kinds of poisonous snakes, as well as the biggest natural anaconda that is said to have come out from hell itself, known as the Crimson Anaconda, Scarlet Naga. When they reached the place, the boat driver asked for extra money on their way back. Jeff gave him the money, but accidentally, or rather intentionally, dropped the money on the ground. The boat driver greedily picked up all the notes, only to get shanked in the neck by Jeff. Jeff's partners watched in horror as Jeff decapitated the boat driver and threw his head in the water, almost trying to lure something towards them. But they did not dare say anything, lest they end up like the driver. The two men followed Jeff into the forest, and they came across a statue of several snakes with their hoods flared. Jeff claimed that they had reached the spot. Right in front of that place, there were wooden planks on the ground, which one of the guys accidentally stepped into. Underneath the planks, there were a bunch of snakes, which elated the guys. As Jeff loaded up his tranquilizer gun, waiting for something ominous, the other two guys filled up their bags with several snakes. One of the guys made his way back to the boat, happy with the serpentine loot, when he noticed something odd. He could see the headless body of the boat driver almost standing in the water. When he stared at it for a moment longer, the body went underwater and it seemed like something was rushing towards him. The guy tried to make a run for it, but he ended up getting captured by this huge anaconda. The anaconda swallowed him whole, leaving no trace of his existence. The other guy was on his way back to the boat, calling out to his friend, who went super quiet out of nowhere. This was when he noticed the anaconda. The very obvious human-shaped bulge in its stomach made it obvious what had happened to his friend. The anaconda ends up attacking this man too, after vomiting out his friend's dead body. And while he's getting his bones crushed, he notices Jeff standing in a corner, waiting with his tranquilizer gun. He could have shot the anaconda, but he chose not to because he wanted to capture the snake. Suddenly, all the animals and birds in the forest started making noise. The anaconda let go of the guy and slithered away, making Jeff curious. We get the point of view of something stalking Jeff, and then we cut to a different scene. We meet new characters: Ollie, Jiapeng, Gonlan Lan, and Da Zhao. They are all circus performers, but lately business hasn't been booming, and so they're not earning a lot of money. After a failed show where the only act that worked well was Gonlan Lan's escape from a tank with her pet boa, Jimmy, the circus owner tells the group that things are not going well for them. Right then, Liang, an ex-circus performer, shows up. He brought a suitcase full of cash and bought all the performers from the circus owner. He told the troupe members that they were going to go to Thailand to perform in his circus, which all the members accepted, except Gonlan Lan, who accepted happily. Lan knew that things were never as straight as an arrow with Biliang, but when she saw practically everyone going with him, she decided to go with him to take care of them. The troupe met up at a boat run by the captain, played by the famous Hong Kong actor Paul Che. There, we are also introduced to Biliang's two cousins, the Taoist Zhang Qinsu and another cousin whom we will call Zombie because we never really learn his name. Now with all of them together, the journey begins. From Captain Sare's words, it becomes evident that the waters they are traveling on are infested with snakes after Biliang ends up getting bitten near his family jewels while on the boat. Their trip to Thailand gets unceremoniously disrupted when they come across a blockage. With the detour delaying the trip by 2 days, the troupe had had no other choice but to blow up the blockage with some dynamite they had on the boat for some unknown reason. Peng and Zombie went to the blockage and set up the sticks at certain places. When the time was right, Captain Sarai hit the switch and boom! Up went the blockade into the air. However, there was an issue. The entire blockade was actually the house of what seemed like hundreds of snakes. The snakes rained down on top of the boat, effectively putting everyone in a panic. Everyone was running around the boat, trying to save themselves from the snakes, and Biliong ended up falling in the water when the bathroom ceiling collapsed, covering him with a lot of snakes. He swam ashore, happy that he had managed to save himself from the serpentine distress, only to come face to face with a cobra. Before the cobra could strike him right between his eyes, Biliong was saved by none other than Jeff. Jeff claimed that he was a wilderness explorer and somehow ended up stranded in that region because of some accident. But we know the truth. Jeff came aboard the boat, and when Zhao screamed, holding his ear, Jeff managed to lure a little snake baby out of his ear by using his finger as bait. Lan Lan noticed it and realized that there was no way Jeff was just a wilderness explorer. The baby snake that bit him was a poisonous snake, and he didn't even react to the venom. She tried to warn Biliong, but he had no interest in hearing her words. Lan Lan's words come true soon enough when that night, while everyone is asleep, Jeff approaches Captain Sarai, offering him some money to take him to the Crimson Anaconda's lair. Captain Sarai threatened Jeff with a crossbow before going back to his fishing. As he fished, Jeff stole the captain's little puppy and used the poor baby as bait to get an anaconda to take the captain's fishing bait. As the captain leaned down to pick up his rod, he fell overboard, and Jeff killed him to use him as bait for the anaconda. The rest of the troop woke up and got worried when they could not find Captain Sarai. Lan Lan noticed Jeff's cold demeanor, and before she could voice her suspicions, the anaconda that Jeff was after took the bait Jeff had laid out for it. A huge tug of war happens between the anaconda and Jeff as he tries to wrangle the snake onto the boat, only for him to fall overboard and get dragged around by the snake. Right when everyone thought Jeff died, Jeff came back on board, and who would have guessed it? The anaconda followed him to the boat. The anaconda tried to attack everyone on the boat and eventually threw up Captain Sarai's dead body, answering the question that everyone had been wondering about. The troop managed to survive the attack of the anaconda by carefully dodging and having some sheer luck. Eventually, the dynamite sticks in the boat caught fire, burning the anaconda completely. Lan Lan tried to go back onto the boat to save her snake, Jimmy, but she could not, as the fire had spread all over. The surviving troop swam ashore and realized that things were not going so well. Gon Lan Lan called out Jeff on his lies, and Jeff claimed that if they had cooperated with him and helped him catch the anaconda alive, they would have been extremely rich. Hearing that, Biliong decides to join hands with Jeff immediately. Jeff pointed out the location of his boat on the map, which was super close to the Crimson Anaconda's lair, and told them that they should come with him. Lan Lan refuses, but that's when they find out that Ali has been infected with something. In the movie, it's explained as a bee that carries a lot of bacteria, but it actually looked more like the horsehair worms. Jeff explained that if they did not get back to his boat, Ali will die, as this disease can kill people in 48 hours. So, with no choice, they go with Jeff. On their way to the boat, they end up taking a break near a stream. Right as they were about to drink water from the stream, Jeff warned them against it. The water had a lot of dead mantises. Jeff explained that the water had a certain kind of worm that could infiltrate the body and create an unquenchable thirst. The hosts end up drowning themselves in water, hoping that that would bring an end to their thirst. While he was explaining that, we saw one of those worms fall from the treetop onto Zombie's neck, immediately burrowing in. That night, the group takes shelter in a cave. There, Zhang has a bad dream about all of them getting eaten by several anacondas. In the meantime, Jeff was reminiscing about his close encounter with the Crimson Anaconda the last time he was there. Biliong learns about the Crimson Anaconda from Jeff and decides to join hands with him to capture it. Zhang woke up from his nightmare and went to look for his brother Zombie, who was nowhere to be seen. Zhang noticed him in the water and tried calling him back, only for Zombie to bury his face in the river and drink the dirty water in big gulps. When Zhang tried to get him out of the water, he noticed the worms in Zombie's nose, freaking him out. Right then, an anaconda showed up, and Zhang had no other choice but to watch helplessly as his brother got devoured by the snake. The next day, the group set out for the boat again and reached a river. They had to go downstream in order to reach the boat. If they did not, then it would take 2 more days to reach the boat, and Ollie would be dead by then. So, with no other choice, everyone started walking downstream. They stopped at one point when they felt an anaconda slithering past them in the water. Right when they thought the danger had passed, an anaconda showed up and bit down on Zhang. Lan Lan tried her best to save him, but she failed. Zhang got swallowed alive as Jeff watched in delight. Eventually, the whole group managed to reach the boat. Jeff gave them the medicine for Ollie, and Peng thought that they would be leaving for Thailand right then. However, that's when Jeff threatens them. Biliong crosses them and ties them up, leaving them as bait for the Scarlet Naga, as Jeff sets up the trap around them. This is where we learn that Biliong actually did not buy the circus troupe members for his own circus. He bought them to sell their organs. But now, with Jeff, he planned on using them as bait and then capturing the snake. While Biliong stood guard over Zhao and Peng with a net around them, Jeff was away with Ollie and Lan Lan was tied up. He tried to assault Lan Lan, only for Ollie to seduce him. Eventually, Ollie managed to get her hands on his gun and tried to shoot Jeff with it. However, she did not know how to fire it. Right when Jeff was about to shoot her, Lan Lan showed up and attacked him. The 2 women fought with Jeff and tried to get the gun from him when a shot was fired. Lan Lan managed to knock out Jeff with a branch and make a run for freedom with Ollie. On the other hand, Peng and Zhao ended up attracting an anaconda. However, so did Biliong. Since Biliong ended up getting eaten by the snake before the anaconda reached Peng and Zhao, he let go of the rope, and the net fell in between the hostages and the snake, deterring the serpent. Ollie and Lan Lan ran to Zhao and Peng. Jeff was following after them. Right then, an anaconda showed up out of nowhere and dragged Jeff with it. The 4 circus members tried to run for the boat, only to realize that Ollie was mortally wounded. Ollie passed away, and after a moment to mourn her, Lan Lan, Peng, and Zhao went on the boat. However, right before they could swim away, Zhao got shot with a tranquilizer gun. Turns out that Jeff beheaded the snake that had attacked him. The 3 troop members end up getting tied together as bait while Jeff sets up the net to capture the Crimson Anaconda. As they waited, more and more snakes came out, and all of them were surrounded by several snakes. However, suddenly the birds started flying away, and all but 1 anaconda left the troop members alone. Right before the anaconda could strike them, the Crimson Anaconda showed up. It attacked the snake that was about to eat Lan and then wrapped itself around the troop members. Jeff pulled the rope and captured the anaconda in his net. However, the Crimson Anaconda started thrashing around, ripping the net in half and trying to run into the forest, dragging Jeff with it. Jeff ends up getting trapped between trees, and Peng starts chewing through the ropes and binding them. Seeing the dire situation, the Crimson Anaconda, unnoticed by Jeff, started slithering after him, and right when Jeff managed to get out of the trees, the anaconda grabbed him and swallowed him whole. Peng was able to chew through the binds, and right as they were about to make a run for it, they noticed that the snake was following them. Seeing no choice, they hid behind wooden boxes. While Lan and Zhao managed to outmaneuver the snake, Peng went inside the box, and soon enough, he got cornered by the Crimson Anaconda. Zhao broke the box and got Peng out, but ended up getting bitten on his leg. In a desperate attempt to save her friend, Lan Lan stabbed the anaconda with a branch. With the anaconda thrashing and recoiling in pain, the group ran away. Lan Lan hid her friends in the trees and climbed up another tree to hide in the box that was hanging from a branch. Somehow, the Crimson Anaconda managed to figure out that Lan Lan was there and started wrapping around her and the tree trunk, crushing the box. Lan Lan eventually let go and slipped out of the anaconda's grasp. Zhao and Peng followed her and attacked the anaconda with branches. Lan Lan was able to blind the anaconda when Jimmy, her pet snake who was able to survive the boat incident, attacked to save them. Sadly, the Crimson Anaconda gobbled Jimmy up whole, and Lan Lan could not do anything. The Crimson Anaconda fell underground after the earth shattered under its weight and chased the group underground as they made their way to the boat. Suddenly, the Crimson Anaconda sprung out from the underground and tried to strike the characters. However, Jeff had actually tightly tied steel wires along the perimeter, and the anaconda ended up getting its head sliced off in that wire. With the anaconda now dead, the group got on the boat, finally bidding adieu to this horrifying trip. However, before the credits roll, we see the decapitated snake stand up again, implying that the snake might just be alive. Crimson Anaconda, the best creature ever? The Crimson Anaconda or the Scarlet Naga? It doesn't matter what you call it, it's the most memorable part of the movie. While the name of the snake made me think at first that it would be a red snake, the actual creature design is very believable. It has red markings near its eyes and is way bigger and fatter than the snakes that we see throughout the movie. And let me tell you, all the anacondas before the Crimson Anaconda are not small either. This is an extremely aggressive, reticulated python that's considered to be a demon summoned from hell by the local cannibalistic tribes. That's why the lair of the Scarlet Naga is considered to be the most cursed part of the Southeast Asian rainforest in which the circus troupe is based. The Scarlet Naga is assumed to be the apex predator of the rainforest. Everyone, from other anacondas as well as humans, is afraid of it. Its ferocity knows no bounds, and we can see just how ruthless it is when we see the Crimson Anaconda quite literally attack a green python simply to assert its dominance in the ecosystem. Its hunting prowess knows no bounds, and the way it's relentless when on the hunt makes it a huge threat to the protagonists. In the climax of the film, we see our character finally facing off against the elusive central antagonist, the Crimson Naga, after Jeff had been chasing it the entire runtime. I'll be honest, I find it rather interesting that this was the one snake that was able to subdue Jeff, who quite literally sliced through another snake to come out alive. So this man has a lot of will to survive, but apparently the Crimson Naga can nullify that real quick. One of the most interesting scenes of the movie has to be when we see Jimmy attack the Scarlet Naga. I wasn't expecting our Jimmy to come back again. I genuinely thought he was dead after the boat went up in flames. It was sad when the Crimson Anaconda swallowed Jimmy whole without much of an issue. Jimmy's attack did stop the Anaconda in its stride for a second, but not for long. The CGI used on the Crimson Anaconda is truly impeccable. Since this creature is a mix of computer-generated graphics and practical effects, the snake looks almost believable. The sheer terror I felt every time the snake was on screen was truly something of its own accord. Given the size of the snake, you'd expect the snake to have a tough time moving quickly. However, the Scarlet Naga moves extremely fast, which adds to the awe and terror of the creature. The filmmakers have put a lot of effort into the creature's movements and attacks, which makes the whole movie much more immersive and suspenseful. Given that the movie ends with the headless body of the Anaconda standing up straight while flicking its tongue, I have a feeling that this will not be the last time we see the Crimson Naga. I think this film will go down the blood orchid route, and we might find out that this snake has regenerative abilities or some supernatural elements to it. Comparison between the OG and the Chinese remake. Which one is better? If we tried to compare the 2024 Anaconda movie and the Anaconda franchise that we know and love, I'd have to tell you, the Chinese one just hits differently. In the original Anaconda film that came out in 1997, we have a group of nature wildlife cinematographers who go to the Amazon rainforest to study wildlife in their natural habitat. However, that soon ends up becoming a death trap as they come across the snakes in the jungle that meticulously pick off each one of them one by one. Jon Voight takes the role of the dangerous poacher in the movie who gets on the boat, promising them help only to rope all the characters into his snake hunting quest. There are a lot of things about the Chinese movie that reminded me of the original one. For example, the entire blockade scene is very familiar. You have people blowing up the blockade while something stalks them, and then snakes rain down on all of them. The whole baby snake biting down on someone's finger is also in the Chinese film. However, in the original film, we can understand that the baby snake flew out of nowhere, got on the character's hand, and tried to bite down on it. In the Chinese remake, we can see the baby snake in someone's ear, and then our dangerous poacher guy lures it out using a fresh cut on his hand. This immediately paints Jeff as this extremely menacing and scary dude, whereas Voight's poacher doesn't seem as menacing in that scene. The Chinese film's poacher also does his signature smirk before he dies after he gets puked up by the snake, much like Jon Voight's poacher winked before dying. The scene where the circus troupe is in waist-deep water and there's a snake swimming around them reminded me of another Anaconda movie. If I'm not mistaken, that scene is from Anaconda, The Hunt of the Blood Orchids. And just like that that movie, we have someone dying in that waist-deep water while everyone keeps screaming. If you do not want to watch all the Anaconda movies, then the Chinese Anaconda movie will fit the bill. It takes all the memorable scenes from the original franchise and puts them in a nice little movie that's just below 90 minutes. While the story may not be the strongest suit of the movie, there's no denying that the characters, the central antagonist, and the theme of man versus nature remain very evident in this movie. In the end, you cannot really pick any one movie to be better than the other. The movie franchise has its own charm, and the Chinese remake also has charm of its own. Why you should watch Anaconda 2024. Despite the weak story points, if I had to choose between Jennifer Lopez's character from the first Anaconda movie and Gonlan Lan from Anaconda 2024, I would probably choose Gonlan Lan. Nita Shia portrayed Gonlan Lan as this extremely badass escape artist snake handler who's ready to voice her opinions at any time. She is a strong female character, and I love seeing that kind of character in creature feature movies. Unlike other women in these movies, Gonlan Lan has character motivation and a spine, both of which come into play as we follow her adventure through the movie. So if you like a strong female character, then this movie is the one for you. Another reason why I think you would like this movie a lot is how the CGI and practical effects blend together for the snake. The snakes seem so realistic, and that makes the whole experience a lot more immersive. I personally didn't quite like Jia Ping, perhaps because I usually don't like dumb actions in movies, but then again, he is a child, so it would make sense why he kept doing dumb and dangerous things out of panic. I get why he did what he did, but oh lord, it was aggravating for me to watch. I also feel like the metal wire coming in as Deus Ex Machina was a bit on the nose, but it's definitely better than setting a whole damn snake on fire. If you want some popcorn flicks to keep you engaged on a lonely evening with your friends, then this movie should be on your list. Marvelous verdict. The CGI in Chinese movies are good. I knew it already, but I had not expected it to be this good. The 100 Poisons Rampage is definitely one of the best creature feature movies I've seen in a while when it comes to visual effects. What do you guys think? What would you rank this movie, and what do you like about it? Let us know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys the next time. Bye-bye. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe. Thanks, everyone.